What's up guys, it's Jake Lewis. We are back with another mixing video. Today we have a song, it's called What I Wanted by Sarika. She's extremely talented, awesome vocalist, talented writer as well. I'm going to try to break up the video into different sections like vocals, drums, instruments, and then effects. It will be in the chapters. If you want to skip through to a part you're more interested in, feel free. Let's start with just playing a before and after of the record real quick. So this is version 2. We had just laid down the vocals so you can hear what it sounded like straight out the gate.
Words from the very first time I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of your eye. Mark my words from the very first time I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of your eye.
Boom. Let's jump into the drums first. Honestly, I really didn't need too much. Threw on the pull tech, did the push-pull trick at around 60 hertz. Explosive, nothing too crazy. Just wanted to roll off some of that low rumble, and there was just some boxy, boomy stuff going on. Dynamically adjusted that with the Pro Q. We put on the SSL channel. Makes them more punchy, added a little bit at 760 hertz, just to add a little bit more upper thump to the kick. 5 dB for the top end, just to make the drums brighter. Took out a little bit of harshness, 1.6K, 2 dB. Did a roll off at around 61. I think that's mainly just to tighten up the kick. Now you'll see here I have a low drum send. I do this for when I get tracks where the kick and the snare are on a track together, like in this track. You send it to an aux. I take Pro Q and I literally just cut out where the fundamental of the kick drum is. I don't have it set to an output, but I do have it sending to another aux called low drum send. And this is where I can sidechain the kick to different things like the 808 or whatever. I'm pretty sure in this track I did sidechain it to all of the bass using Soothe. So you can see the low drum send and enable sidechain. So whenever that send receives signal, which is the kick, that is sent here. So whenever the kick hits, the bass is ducked out of the way. All right, now let's dive into the bass. Sadly, there are plugins that I don't have access to anymore, so they're grayed out. It's a little different, but the principles remain the same. Just hear the bass. Started off with black box, adding some saturation. We got Pro Q. We got a little bit of craziness going on. There was just spots of resonance that I was hearing, so I dynamically adjusted them with the Pro Q just to knock them out of the way. That was really overbearing. Super boxy. That as well, super annoying. Yeah, just a congested area. So those are the changes I felt like I needed. Then I ran it a Spectre, which I wish we could hear right now, but we cannot hear it. And then I just ran it through a 2A. Not doing too much. And then we go into the C4 multiband. Not doing too much here. It's barely tapping it. And now this low bass, I am sending through an aux to a track called Parallel Bass. Let's hear what that's doing. Adding a little bit more body, just shaving off all of the high end. All we want is the low into a Poo Child. Slamming it on the one setting because it's super aggressive, and then adding a whole lot of low end. And that's pretty much all I did for the drums. It sounds pretty damn good. So let's move on to the instrumentation. This rhythm guitar is really driving the record. First thing we do, a little Pro Q. Really just cleaning up resonance. Then we run it into the AIRY. The AIRY is extremely silky and can add a lot of low ends, harmonics, warmth. I felt like this rhythm guitar could really use it. Warm low end can kind of tickle your ears, especially since the guitar is panned far left and far right. You get that tickly effect through the low mids, I've noticed at least, so that's why I put on the AIRY. Then we're running to the API 550B, taking out 1K. Sets it back a tiny bit because we want her vocal out front. More of a low end strum. RVox, I noticed, can add a little bit of cool mid-range. I'm getting 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm getting a little bit of that mid-range boost and compression. Time adjust, the Haas effect. Again, I wanted the guitars to be on the sides, not so much down the middle. I want her voice more down the middle, so I use the Haas effect to kind of push it out to the side. Just different tones that, when meshed together, create awesome texture. Just taking out a little bit in the low mids, a little 200. Micro shift, just to make the stereo image feel a little bit wider. And then on this one, just taking out more of the lows. All these in conjunction, this is what, 5 tracks that really make up one instrument, at least it feels that way. Gives it so much depth and texture, which makes it very interesting to listen to. We'll dive into the cello. Just a little touch of compression. Some widening. I wanted the low mids and just bottom end of the cello to still be relatively in the center and spread out the top. I wanted it to feel big. It just opens up the space. It almost feels like you're more in the room, like it's more live. Strings. I use this plugin so often on strings, pianos. I feel like the top end is pretty silky. The spreader is pretty sweet. Let's look at what I did with the automation. A lot of automation in this song. Looks like right there, I just wanted it to feel a little larger, so I automated it to be a little bit brighter, a little bit wider. Subtle moves, man, they add up. Poogchild 670, man, adds a lot of character. Cool harmonics and stuff when you drive the input. Again, chopping off low end, leaving that space for the bass and kick, before and after. Whoo! Pro Q, rolling off low end. The one on the right was a little bit more brittle. Had to take out a little bit around 4K, 3.7. Added 5K, cool. Micro shift, making it feel like this. It's here before and after. It's a vibe. Going into this bus here. Pro Q. What am I doing, guys? Using the mid-side feature on Pro Q, ducking out at 1.5K, and then I'm taking the top end on the sides and pushing it forward almost as a compensation. Our comp. Relatively quick attack, very quick release. Quickly, just to go back to the bass, this was the most audible part of the bass. It wasn't just uniform the whole time. It was played aggressively at some parts, very quiet at some parts. So I went through, manually adjusted via volume automation the whole entire record. This probably took the most time out of most of the stuff to do, at least it felt like it, but it was worth it. All right, so the vocals, I split it essentially into 3 different kinds of vocals on this record. Airy, top end heavy vocal. She then had a vocal over here, quiet but full, so it didn't fit the same characteristics as the airy. And the hook vocal, which was kind of louder and more full voice. So I broke it up into those 3 different vocals, kind of did 3 different submixes of the vocals. So we got the airy vocal, we got the lead vox 2, and then we got the hook vocals, which those 3 are feeding into the all Vox bus, which is then being all processed together. Go over the airy vocals first. It seems daunting at first. What, you're gonna mix each vocal from scratch 3 different times? No. So what I did is I started with the airy vocal and I got it to where I thought, yo, this sounds really dope. I then copied all of the processing I did onto the other section and then just made adjustments. A lot of that was mostly like EQ, the compression, attack and release, maybe the type of compressor I used. For example, this airy vocal needed standard clip boost with the soft clip saturator because it adds a little bit of body. This vocal down here already has body. We don't need that same plugin, so we don't have it. That's just like one little example. Anyway, let's dive into the airy vocal. So we start off with the de-esser, dropping into the SSL 4K. More de-essing, 550B, taking out a little bit of 7K, 1.5K. A lot of mid-range poke can come into play. 800, taking out more low mids, just to tuck the vocal back a little bit more.
Anything new, but if you were this guy, I'd this guy.
And I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys here. This was the one and only time I've used this plugin. I don't even remember what it does. I think it's like an upward compressor or something. And then we're going into the Poogchild 670, as you can tell. I love this compressor. A lot of control, shaving off more top end, too much presence, probably a nasally thing. 200 hertz in a vocal always annoys the crap out of me. Usually do scoop out in that range. Then we're running into the AIRY. Again, trying to kind of counteract all the brightness that we're getting from the microphone and just her vocal take and stuff. Using AIRY to get a little bit more body, trying to make the top end sound a little bit more silky.
Anything new, but if you were this guy, I'd dive right into.
I mean, dude, that sounds... The AIRY compressor is so good. De-esser.
I'm terrified of trying anything.
This de-esser is really, really good. Standard clip. Just using the soft clip saturator to add a little bit of body. Bring up, I guess, the floor. Bring up the floor of the vocal.
I'm terrified of trying anything new, but if you were this guy, I'd...
You don't only have to use this to clip shit. Boom, now let's go to this lead vocal to...
Dinner for two, you only ever had lunch.
This vocal sounds completely different from the other one. It's less soft, it's more aggressive, it has more body to it, so we processed it a little bit different. And then it looks like, yep, we took away way less of that 800 because there was less of that congestion that I noticed in her voice, so we didn't need to take out 6 dB on this one. We only needed to take out like not even 2. And then we didn't actually take out anything else, it looks like. Going into VMR, just like the other one, it looks like we're doing the same exact moves.
Lunchtime,
Looks like we're compressing it more. It's more aggressive.
Dinner for two, you only ever had.
Not doing as much on the Pro Q. Ew. Yep. This vocal, I didn't need to shave out that 200 hertz because she's in a higher register of her voice. That 200 hertz isn't even there. So I don't need to do that same processing. And then we're running into AIRY again.
Dinner for two, you only ever
De-essing. So now we are going into this hook vocal.
Mark my words from the very first time.
It looks like we did not use VMR on this one for whatever reason. I guess I just didn't think it needed it. 550B, taking out 1K. The 670 again on a different setting. On the other ones I had it on 6. On this one, 3.
Mark my words from the very first time.
Really just holds the vocal more. A little bit of a longer release. Pro Q. Yeah, don't like that.
Don't tell me what I want.
Super annoying. MEQ.
Mark my words.
This one I'm actually adding 200. I know I said I usually take it out and it annoys me. However, in this one, I felt like she actually needed a little bit more body and 200 felt like the right spot. Like normally in a dude's vocal, I would add like 100 hertz to make the vocal lift a little bit more in the low end, but female singer, in my head, it's like the equivalent to 100 hertz in a dude. And then I'm dipping a little bit at 2K to get some of that harshness out, and that is it. And then running into the AIRY, again, getting that silk back, de-essing, fresh air, adding a little bit of top end.
Mark my words from the very first time.
And all of that is feeding into the all Vox bus, going into Maggie Q, adding around 3 dB at 20 hertz or 20 kilohertz. And the slope from 20,000 bleeds down into the more audible ranges of the frequency spectrum. And that's where this boost sounds really pleasant because it's not so aggressive. It's like a very gradual rise in the top end. Brought the mid-range forward a little bit, half a dB at 1.4K. And then we're running it through 550B again, taking out a little bit at 1.5K and then taking out a little bit at 400.
Mark my words from the very first time. I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of your eye. Then you say you'll never be my type.
Listening back now that I've sat with the mix and the song's out, I don't think I would take out 1.5. I think I would keep this here, but I do feel like the vocal could be a tiny bit more forward. The mastering engineer did end up bumping the vocal forward a little bit more with his mastering magic. And then we do some parallel processing with the tube tech.
Mark my words from the very first time.
Just slamming it at a 6:1 ratio and then adding in 23% of that signal.
Mark my words from the very first time. I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of your eye.
That just rounds it out. Without this parallel processing and this plugin, the vocal is still a little pokey. It's like popping out of the speaker. It makes it feel more like this. So it's not so aggressive. It's more round. Looks like on this section, we actually changed the Poog Child settings in this section. Feeling of the song changed. She almost went into like a rap kind of pocket.
Deny your parents' night at the prom.
very rhythmic in her approach. So I wanted to change it from a 6-time constant to 1, which is a fast attack, fast release. And that just makes it feel a little bit more punchy, a little bit more forward, which is how we want this section to also feel. We want this section to kind of feel like it's slowly building up and exploding over time, hence the change on this part. So this is the parallel compression track right here. I have all of the leads going to it. And then on the parallel track, I can automate volume. And if I want it to be louder without taking away a bunch of headroom, I can just boost the parallel track. It's perceived as being louder. Then just as the song progresses, I'm adding a little bit more on certain words, taking away on certain lines. Let's go to the harmonies. So I have all the harmonies going to their subgroups, and all those subgroups are then going to the harmony bus. Nothing too crazy going on. I'm just gonna kind of quickly go through these just to show you. On this part, she wanted these to feel more in the back and like softer. So I added true verb and automated it to only engage on this section.
She'll smell your perfume on it. Mark my words from the corner of your eye. Don't tell me what I wanted, cause you words from the very first time I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of your eye. Then you say
there's not much processing going on these harmonies. I like the natural feeling of harmonies and then just kind of tucking them in with volume. Just a little bit of compression.
I saw you looking elsewhere out the corner of
and all of these harmonies are feeding into this harmony box.
my words.
Nothing happening.
I saw you looking
De-essing.
elsewhere out the corner
De-essing.
of your eye.
Soothe. On this soothe track, I didn't want the harmonies to get in the way of the lead vocal. Send the lead vocals to Vox sidechain, and Vox sidechain is the sidechain input in soothe. I changed the mode to mid side, and I have it only affect the mids. And then I'm just taking it out.
My words from the very first.
So we're still getting the side information from the harmonies, but the mids are being tucked back when the lead vocals are active. But then I also add this over onto the instrument bus. Soothe, vocal sidechain input, affecting only the mids.
My words from the very first time.
I use soothe a lot for sidechaining. That's all of the processing that happens under the master. God particle, don't have it, need to get it back. Just gonna skip over God particle, go straight to the black box, adding a bunch of saturation, even a non-harmonics, compensate for all of that additional volume we're getting from adding that stuff. We are lowering the output. Going into the Pultec, and we're adding 60 hertz stuff, and then also attenuating it so we get a little boost and tighten at the same time. Now we're adding a bunch of top end at 12K with a very broad bandwidth. Aquamarine 5, we're like kind of barely touching the mix.
Corner of your eye. Then you say you.
The opto compressor is probably hitting around 2 dB of gain reduction. The discrete compressor is maybe getting a dB. Big reason I gravitate to this plugin is for the preamp section. Crank the saturation all the way maxed out at 24. And I switch through all these different preamps and they just give different tonal qualities. Then we go into standard clip.
The corner of your eye.
Adding a tiny bit of the saturation, usually 1 dB is what I'm like aiming for. Sometimes it'll happen, it'll be 2 dB that I'm clipping off.
Corner of your eye. Then you say you'll never be my type.
Looks like I'm getting like max, maybe 1.5. Then we're going to Violet EQ, adding some low end, a little bit of top end as well. Here's some secret sauce. So on the rare occasion, I don't use soothe just for sidechaining. I'll throw it on the master, and there's a master preset called Balance to the Grammy Awards, and it's dope. My mentor is the one that showed me this preset. It's really dope. Literally just barely taps it.
My type. Don't tell me what I wanted, cause you didn't wanna try.
Just takes the edge off, can tighten up the low end a little bit too. Then I'm running into the L316. I've been using this limiter a lot from Waves. It's basically a multi-band limiter. I usually just bring down the threshold and the out ceiling together with this knob. And you can choose some cool presets that can get you to a pretty nice sound and then change it from there. What I do more recently is I just keep it at default. I choose whatever release character I think sounds best. These all sound really different. And then just bring the threshold down, take out maybe 3 dB. I would dive into more of what the plugin does, but maybe I'll do that on a separate video.
Corner of your eye. Then you say you'll never be my type.
It's not just limiting the whole thing, like when 125 hits, it's not bringing everything down. It's just limiting that 125 hertz. That's it, which is awesome because then feeding into my overall limiter ozone, it doesn't have to do as much work and impact.
You say you'll never be my type.
Barely doing stuff here, honestly. I'm only doing it here. Dynamic EQ, taking out a little bit there dynamically.
You say you'll never be my type.
Spreading the top end, bringing the low end mono.
Corner of your eye, then you
Selected the pop preset, added a tiny bit, thought it sounded cool.
corner of your eye, then you say you'll
Used the vintage limiter.
say you'll never be
It's not doing that much. This is what's doing most of the work.
corner of your eye, then you say you'll never be my type. Didn't wanna try.
Hitting -8 on the short term. And we are chilling. That's pretty much the mix. If you want to listen to the song, the link to it will be in the description. Link to Sarika will be in the description, her Instagram and stuff like that. Then we had our boy Freeman Mastering, master the record. So that's the version you'll hear on, you know, Spotify, Apple Music and all that. So it will sound a little bit different because, you know, he did his magic on the mastering side. Yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. And until next time, deuces.